So, you know, the last time I did a major update on this, which I think was an Alpha 10, at that time, I rebuilt the front end because now we have the new blocks, right? But I said, you know, I'm not going to do the back end now. We'll do that at another time. Well, that other time has now arrived. I'd like to take this collar piece and also put it on the Tier 4 version. Okay, and so the way we're going to do that is we're going to use Empyrion's selection tool, and we're going to copy and paste it onto the Tier 4. Welcome back, everybody, to Empyrion Galactic Survival on 12.2. I'm an old guy gaming, and this is probably going to be our last building episode for a while, because after this episode, we are going to start a new series on the Swamp Planet. So I've heard back from a few of you on the comments, and everybody that's responded so far that I've read. Actually, I haven't checked it in the last few hours, but that I've read so far has said to go ahead and start over. So that's what we're going to do. However, before we do that, I want to show you basically what I've done with my 3 ships here. Lots of changes. I have spent many hours, real-time hours, off camera, trying to get these vessels to the place that I really want them to be. And I think we're in pretty good shape. So, man, where to start? Let's actually start with the blacklight, because the blacklight, I only made a couple of really small changes to the blacklight. The first change is that this lighter blue stripe was missing on the hull, and I didn't even notice that in space. But I took it down to the planet in the second build episode that we did, and when I looked at it in the sunlight, I noticed that stripe was missing. I'm going, what in the hell? So we fixed that up. If you guys saw that last episode too, we changed the shutter doors around, and the reason I did that is to have more clearance down here to get the Jade jet in, and that's pretty much it for the blacklight. Everything else, we haven't done anything else. Oh, you know what, though? We did in that episode, we also set it to just use the 4 Tier 4 CPU extenders and remove the other ones that were there. Okay, so that's pretty much it for the blacklight. Let's go ahead and at the end of this episode, I'm going to save and republish all of these changes too for everybody. Okay, so you can see here now that I have 2 Jade jets. I was successfully able to make a Tier 3 version of the Jade jet. Yay! So let's since you've already seen the Tier 4, let me just kind of talk about a few changes I've made to the Tier 4 since the last time we showed it. And honestly, guys, I don't remember exactly where this was the last time I showed it to you. So let's turn those signals off. So I'm not sure. Some of this I may have already shown you. Some of it I may not have. But anyway, I have made quite a few more changes to the Tier 4 version of the Jade jet. The first thing, as you can see, is I removed the thrusters that I had along the fuselage because it just looked like shit. It looked terrible, right? So I took those off. I added another thruster up in the front here to try and compensate for that. Also, I had originally set these thrusters in as Tier 2 normal thrusters, but I discovered that I was able to actually remove another block, and so I changed all those out and put the jets in. Okay, so we did that. I decided to make the cockpit green instead of black, just to add, a little more pizzazz to the ship. And it's interesting, when you paint this cockpit light green, this part, the game paints dark green. And so what I decided to do is just go ahead and make this part of the hood also dark green to kind of, have it blend a little bit better. So we made those changes. Made some changes over here too. I put these thruster jets out on the side of the vessel in order to make it roll better, because one of you guys in the comments reminded me that to get better roll, you need to have vertical thrusters on the outer parts of the wings. That's something I knew too, but my brain wasn't working that day, and it just hadn't occurred to me. I tried to screw around a little bit too with these, these little jets for reverse thrust, and I just wasn't getting what I wanted out of it. So I decided to go ahead and put a medium thruster jet down here in order to get our reverse thrust. So we made those changes, and I don't think we've made any more changes to the Tier 4 version. I did, however, go in here and remove the Tier 2 and the Tier 3 extenders, so that is done. And now we just have, you know, the normal, we just have the set of Tier 4s is all we have in here. And those are in here somewhere. I don't know what the hell I did with them, but they're in here. Oh, there they are. There they are. Okay, they're up along the top. Getting a little confused there. Getting a little confused. All right, so I don't remember either if I had done this in the last time, but I made this tail fin the next size up from what it was before, too, because I thought, you know, in terms of proportion for the ship, with that, you know, as long as the fuselage was, I felt like a little bit larger wing was more appropriate. And again, I might have shown some of this to you before, I just can't remember, so just bear with me on that. So I think, guys, those are the significant changes that we've made to the Tier 4 version of the jet, and I'm a little happier with it. You know, like I said, those thrusters that we had along the side were just bugging the crap out of me, and so we took those off. Here is the current performance statistics. So it's not too bad, really, not too bad at all. We've got 51 degrees pitch, which is good. 53 degrees roll, which is really good. Yaw is 74 degrees, which is almost too good. And we, you know, you can tone that down here if it really was that bad. Side thrust is okay. It's 38 meters per second. That's not bad. I would prefer that to be up in the 40s, but we can certainly work with the 38. That's not terrible. We have 54 meters per second lift, 36 meters per second down thrust, and a pretty damn good 51 meters per second reverse thrust, thanks to these big old jets that we put here. So performance is pretty good on the jet. I'm pretty pleased with it overall. I'm not going to move it yet, and you'll see why in a little bit. We're going to do a little something else with this that we'll get to towards the end of this episode. Okay, so yeah, Tier 4 version of the jet. At the end of this episode, we will publish it to the workshop. That way, you guys, if you're interested, you can go ahead and download it and bring it into your game if you want to. Okay, so Tier 3. I successfully made myself a Tier 3 version of the Jade jet. So the differences, let's go ahead and talk about those differences. As you can see, there's not as many thrusters, you know, as there are on here. Plus the main drive thrusters are mediums instead of larges. So, you know, that's a difference there. And I have used the little, you know, the small jets to get our roll thrusters, our vertical lift, our down thrusters, and our reverse. Okay, so quite a bit, you know, less in terms of the thrusters. The fuselage, however, of both jets are identical, except for the fact that, you know, this doesn't have the big weapons pod on it like this one does. So for this one, I did put the Delta wings on there, but I just have normal T1 rockets on the ends of those. This part is the same as over there. We've got the two jets down there, but I only have one jet for down thrust on this rocket. I'm sorry, on this ship here too. In the front, we've got all Gatlings, and so there's, you know, I don't have any Tier 2 rockets, and I put the Tier 1 rockets out to the side there. Let's see, and then I think that's pretty much it for the outside, except for the back, which we're going to look at in here in a little bit. And then the innards of this ship, it's wide open. I mean, there's a lot of space in here, and that's okay because, you know, the more shit we add in here, the more CPU it takes up, and the heavier the ship becomes, more mass. So, you know, there's just a lot of room in here, and it's because, you know, this is the same fuselage as the Tier 4, but I don't have enough CPU and thruster and all that to fill the thing all the way up. Let's turn the lights off here for a second so we can kind of see a little bit better about what's going on. Now, a couple of things about what's going on in here. This entire floor, from underneath these guys, excepting this little middle part there because you can't put that texture on extensions, all the way back to here, yeah, right here, are all extensions. So this ship, one thing it has is it's got a shit ton of space. So if we open that up, let's get that out of the way. Over 8,000 volume. Now that doesn't mean the ship's going to be able to carry carry all the weight that you might fill up into 8,000 volume, but it's got a lot of room. And I think I may have explained this earlier, but if I didn't, I like to use extensions where I can in place of, just like normal steel blocks to fill in, because, then it makes them more useful. They're not only, filling in the spots that need to be filled in, but they're also giving you more storage space. Now, the downside to that, of course, it does use a little more CPU, but, as long as you can get it all to work, then it works out pretty good. So in the back here, we've got, let's take a look-see here. We've got our pentaxid tank, and we've got our wireless device and our core. And then I've got 2 Jennies in the ship, and of course, there's plenty of room to add a third one if we need to, but in my testing, I don't think we will, but we'll check that out again. I've kind of, just put little O2 tanks in the little pockets there to kind of fill that in. We've got fuel tanks along the ceiling, and then the 2 Tier 3 extenders off to the side there. And we got our detector, and then up in the front here, we've got a ventilator, 2 refrigerators, O2 station, and an armor locker. Now, underneath the cockpit, and this is the same on the Tier 4 version too, by the way, is our polarized hull shield. Notice that if I needed to get to that and pick it up with the multi-tool, I can do that very easily. And here's the reason for that. If we look at the CPU on the ship as it is right now, it's a 39.5, right? So it's very, very close to maxed out, but just, still just enough under to where, we're still going to get 100% efficiency on our CPUs. And that's with, the hull shield in place. Now, if I take the warp drive, which notice I have that, in storage right now, and put that down, what that does is that gives us, that knocks us down to 90%. But here's the thing. You don't need the warp drive in the ship all the time. You only need it when you need to warp. So the idea here is that when I need to warp somewhere, I just pop the drive out, put it down, warp to wherever I need to go, because I should be able to do that without any problem at 90%. I don't think that'll be any issues. And then when we get to our destination, we pick the warp drive back up and put it back into storage, and then we're good to go. If that did, if that 90% did actually cause us problems, like, so let's say, for example, we wanted to warp to, almost the max distance that we can on a small vessel, and it's not going to do it because we're at 90%, well, then we can simply pick up the polarized hull shield from here, right? And then put that in storage or hang on to it in our own inventory or whatever. And now, we're at, that uses almost half, you guys, of the CPU. It's just nuts. But that's the basic idea. And then we warp to where we're going. When we get there, we pull the warp core up, and we put the shield generator back in place. Let's grab that here. And I like to paint the shield Jenny and the warp core yellow, just because I don't know that I really have a real good reason for that. I just like to do it, just to kind of identify it as a special piece of equipment, maybe. Yeah, so that's really pretty much it for how I'm planning on using the Tier 3 ship. Now, what I'll do when I put it on the workshop is I'm not going to have the warp core in it. What I will do is I'll put it up, and I'll just put a note in the description saying, hey, here's how I use this ship, and if you want to be able to warp with it, then you have to make a warp core and just keep it in storage when you're not using it. By the way, I noticed that I also have the mobile constructor in here too, and the same idea, because this sucker uses 2,000 CPU, which is a lot, but it's not something that needs to be connected all the time. So if I need to use the constructor to make something, I just simply, pull it out of storage, I plop it down, do whatever I need to do to make my stuff, and then pick it back up when I'm done. So that way, you kind of can have your cake and eat it too, so to speak. So yeah, I'm pretty pleased with, how this all turned out. I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to make the Jade Jet work at Tier 3 and still be pretty much the same ship that it's supposed to be, but I think we, were able to accomplish that pretty successfully. Okay, so now the Jade Jet version 3 does not have an actual, big rear thruster in the back like the Tier 4 version does. And so what I basically did was I kind of made my own thruster, and it's all, of course, just decorative. And this is kind of what I came up with. And, the whole light blue theme is so that it kind of mimics, the light blue of the actual thruster. And I've got a light behind the cone here that's, it's just a white light, but it's like the intensity and the range is like turned all the way up on it. And so when we turn the lights on the ship, it looks like, kind of, that there's some thrust coming out of there. And that's, it's all just, for fun, just for decoration. But, it kind of makes it look like, here again, that there's an actual thruster there. There might be a better way to do this. I don't know. And it's something I might even mess with at some point in the future to see if I can even make this look a little bit more realistic. I don't know. But I think it works and gets the job done. All right. So now here's what I want to do. I spent quite some time designing this whole thruster thing, including like the collar that goes around it, because I've never been happy with the back end of the Jade jet, and I knew there was a better way to do it. But remember, when I originally built this, we didn't have all the blocks that we have now. And so, the last time I did a major update on this, which I think was an Alpha 10, at that time, I rebuilt the front end because now we have the new blocks, right? But I said, I'm not going to do the back end now. We'll do that at another time. Well, that other time has now arrived. And so I built this little back end to kind of, in my mind anyways, mimic a thruster. And what I think I would like to do is I would like to take this collar piece and also put it on the Tier 4 version. Okay, and so the way we're going to do that is we're going to use Empyrion selection tool, and we're going to copy and paste it onto the Tier 4. Okay, so let's go ahead and turn off the lights on this for now, just so we can kind of see what's going on in here a little bit more. And what I want to do is let's go over... we don't really have to do anything over here, except for we might lose this thruster when I copy it over, but if we do, that's not a problem. I'll just put a new one in. Okay, so first step here is we've got to select the collar. So I'm going to go into the in menu, and I'm going to make sure selection is selected. And then what we're going to do is we're going to click the move button, and we're just going to click on this block here. Okay? I'm going to close the in menu so I can kind of get around here and see where the block is, because we're going to copy basically this whole section from here all the way to the end. So that looks like that's placed where I want it. So now we go back into in, and we need to switch this over to the scale option. This is the move option. Notice that it has the arrows, and this is the scale option, and this is the rotate option, which we're not going to actually use for our purposes. All right, now if I just click on this little block here, it just moves it one block out. This inner square will allow me to drag it out myself, and the outer square drags it out like really far. So if you were going to select a huge area, you'd want to use the outer square. In our case, we're just going to use the inner square, and you got to be careful that you don't like overshoot it like that. And now same thing here. We're going to bring this back 3 blocks, and that should be good there. Let's just double check and make sure everything's looking the way that it should be. Okay, that's good. Now we just need to bring her down. So let's get right about here-ish, and let's grab this little cube, and we'll just carefully bring it down like that, and make sure that it's selected all the way to the bottom of this lip here, because that's the bottom part of the collar. I don't know if you call this, this little thing around a thruster, I don't know if that's called a collar or if there's another name for it. I'm just kind of referring to it as a collar, but if you guys know if there's an actual name for that, let me know. I was even thinking about Googling parts of a thruster, but I never got around to it, so it doesn't matter. We're going to call it a collar for this playthrough, or for this episode. Okay, so we've got the whole thing selected. Now, the next thing we're going to do is go into the in menu. Take a drink of beer first. And we're going to click the copy button. Okay, so that copies the collar. Now what we're going to do is we're just going to paste it in place, and you don't have to do this. You could move, you could move it out. And when you paste something with this tool, you'll see everything will turn green. That means that's showing you where it's going to go, not where it actually is. So you have to paste it again to actually put it in place. But that's not what we want to do. What we want to do with this guy now is we want to move it out and away from that collar. Because we don't want to mess with the original collar. Okay? So we get that out of the way, and then now what we're going to do is we're going to, let's move it out here. Let's move it out here so it's not, near the deck. Maybe a little more this way too. All right, that's good. Okay, so now let's go ahead and paste it. So we go back in and we click paste again, and now it actually makes a copied version of the collar. So now this is a whole new set of blocks from what the original blocks were, but it's an exact replica. Now for what we're going to do with the tier 4, we don't want all this decorative stuff that I put in here because we have an actual thruster in there, right? So we're going to get rid of all of this fancy schmancy decorative stuff that I put in here. And open this up like so. Oh, yeah, we got to get that pipe out of there too. Okay. So now that opens that up, and we should be ready to copy it again. So now we're going to go into the in menu, and we're going to hit copy. And then what we could do here is copy to selection. So I think what I can do is I can move the selection and then copy to that. Or we can simply just select the tier 4 and paste it in at that point. I think I'm going to do that only because if I use this selection box here, remember that selection box was based off of the position of the tier 3 Jade jet. Chances are the tier 4 is not in the same exact position on all points as the tier 3 is. I mean, they're pretty close. I kind of got them lined up before we started the episode, but they're almost certainly not perfectly lined up. Okay, so what we want to do then is we want to go ahead and remove the selection by clicking that button. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to go over to the tier 4, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to select the area that we want to paste into. All right, so we're going to start with we're going to click on that block there, make sure everything is lined up the way that it's supposed to be, and then we want to come out 3 blocks this way, and then we want to come out to there and to here to cover that portion. Does that look right? Yep, I think so. And then what we're going to do is we're going to bring it down. That looks good. Okay, cool. Now what we're going to do is we're going to open up this menu, and notice that my paste option is still available. So if I click that, boom, it pastes the collar in place of the other blocks. And it looks like it didn't wipe out the thruster either, which is good. And so in order for me to make that permanent, I just click the paste button again, Oh, it did take the thrush out. Okay, nope, not a problem. We can fix that later. If I was doing this in survival, I would have removed the thruster first, of course, but we're in creative, so that doesn't matter. So the collar is pasted in place, and now we just simply remove the selection, and it should be perfectly lined up to the Tier 4 jet. It looks like it is. This is actually where, you know, this seam right here is where it came in. So it just overwrote the blocks that were there, and looks really good. It looks like I actually built it right onto the end of the jet here. Very cool. All right, now I happen to have some XXL jets on my toolbar because I was practicing all this earlier before I started the video. So let's just pop this guy right back in there, like so. Whoops. And we want to paint that black. And there you have it. So we took the collar off the the Tier 3 Jade jet, put it on the Tier 4, and I think it looks really good. A much improved back end of the ship than from what was there before. In case you guys don't remember what was there before, let's just pop another one of these in real quick. So this is what I had before, you know, just kind of this little block configuration. And remember, this was built before we got the new blocks in, I think in Alpha 10 or 10.5, whenever that was. So at the time, this is kind of really all I could come up with anyways, for, you know, for the back end of it. And I like I said, I've never really liked this, and I'm just, you know, pretty thrilled now that we're actually able to upgrade the back end and make it look really good. Okay, cool. So guys, yeah, that's it, man. That's Tier 3 Jade jet without the, you know, without the warp core. This is its CPU. So it's close, but, you know, still definitely under. And that's including, you know, 2 Tier 1 rockets and 4 Gatlings. So that's still pretty decent armaments. Definitely enough to take out pretty much any drones anyway. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take both of them for just a quick test drive. And then we're going to take some nice screenshots of them and get them published up to the workshop. And we got to do that with the blacklight too because of the changes that I made. Okay, so let's go ahead and start with the Tier 3. So we didn't really make any changes to this, but you know what I'm going to do anyway, just to be on the safe side here, is I'm going to I have to get out of God mode to do this. We're going to just save this as Tier 3A. And then the final version that we do on the workshop will be just the Tier 3. Okay, and then let's do the same thing for the 4, because the 4 has changed now. Not really too worried about the screenshot here because this is just a temporary save. So that's the Tier 4A. We're going to overwrite it from what it was. Very good. I wanted this to be metallic looking too, so that's why I didn't really paint it. Be kind of cool if there was like more of a almost of a chrome, excuse me, a chrome or at least a brighter, you know, metal paint that we could use. But anyway, I'm just going to leave that the way that it is. If people want to paint their version, they certainly can do so. Okay, let's hop in the jet here, the Tier 3 jet, and let's turn everything on. Do I have oxygen with me? Not that we really need it for this test, but we'll put it in anyway. Let's get some Pentaxid because I want the shield. I want the shield running while we're doing all this. We need to go here. Okay, so that's full. Don't want pilot mode on. The signals might still be... Yeah, I've noticed that you have to kind of... turn this off and on. It's a little bit weird when you turn it off and on. See, it turned back off by itself. I don't know why. Okay, now it should be working. There we go. Maybe someday LN will tone down the sound on those the files on those things. They're just so loud. I've even thought about seeing if I could find the sound files and, you know, throwing it into what the hell's that program called, the audio program? Oh man, I can't think of it now. You know, the really cool free audio program that you can use? It's called Son of a Bitch. No, it's not called Son of a Bitch. It's called crap, I can't think of it. Oh well, it doesn't matter. It'll probably come to me at 1 o'clock in the morning tonight. All right, yeah. So let's give this a try. Now, one of the things I want. Oh, the collar's still connected. Oops. We probably better fix that, huh? Oh man, that is hilarious. Okay, so what we have to do? What we have to do? I didn't plan that, guys. It just happened. Is go there and let's just select that and select that and select that. That's hilarious. Okay, get that down to about there. Double check, make sure the whole thing is selected, and then we hit delete and then remove selection. Okay, how funny was that, man? Let's resave it. Do an Alt O. This is the tier 3A. And you know what we should probably do while I'm thinking about it, so I don't forget, is we should probably save the tier 4 to template 2, because I didn't do that after we made the changes to it. So that I think that does a fairly decent job of simulating, you know, a thruster. In fact, it even has a little bit of a glow around it too, you know, just because I've got the intensity turned all the way up on that little light. At least I think it looks pretty good. I don't know if you guys will, but I do. All right, so here we go. Okay, so one of the things we're looking for here is we want to keep an eye on our generator, make sure that it doesn't spike excessively, because there's only 2 genies in the tier 3 version of this ship. But here again too, there's way less thrusters than there is in the tier 4 version. So it's looking pretty good, actually. It's looking pretty good. As you can see, the roll is really good on the ship. Pitch is pretty decent. Strafing is probably one of the weakest parts, but it's not so bad that, you know, we can't use it, but it's a little... I'd like it to be a little more, but we just don't really have any more CPU to play with is a thing. In fact, originally I was trying to get this to work with the warp drive attached, but then I realized, you know, that's just not going to work, so what we'll have to do is just put it on when we need it and then take it off. So yeah, strafing's a bit weak, but I mean, again, it's not terrible. I think it'll get the job done. Rolling's good as we saw, and yaw is okay too. It's not super good, but it's not terrible. I think yaw is like 40 something, right? Yeah, 41 degrees. So not bad. You know, anything that's 40 or above, I think is okay on a small vessel. I suppose it kind of depends upon the vessel though too. I don't think you can necessarily apply that across the board to every small vessel, but anyways, you know, if it's above 40, it's decent. If it's below 40, like the pitch and the lateral thrust, it's functional but not ideal, you know, at least in my opinion. But I think overall, you know, considering the fact that we were able to preserve the Jade jet pretty much, you know, as it is, and not have to make it a different ship than, you know, than it's not, you know, a ship that it's not supposed to be, I guess, at least in my mind. And, you know, getting it to work at tier 3, I'm pretty happy about that. Okay, let's go ahead and do our screenshots and our final saves on these. So let's get this guy... here, let's turn it this way. And then we'll kind of do a little bit of an angle like this, maybe. I'd like to kind of get a little bit of the thruster collar in the picture too, so how about maybe that angle there. Let's get rid of our HUD. Okay, let's do this. This is the real deal save. All right, this is the Jade Jet version 9 T3, which it looks like I haven't even saved it as that yet. So, yeah, version 9 T3, save. Cool. All right, so that's done. And now what we're going to do is we're going to go into our blueprints. We're going to find the T3. We're going to go ahead and publish that on the workshop. I will set it to public. It's not going to have any description yet, so I'll have to hop onto Steam after this and, you know, put a little description in for it. But there it goes. All right, cool. So we got the Tier 3 version published. It is going to be my intention, of course, to bring this into our Let's Play. And then, you know, eventually probably bring the Tier 4. Well, no, we will bring the Tier 4 in when we can. But at least we can start with this Tier 3. This, by the way, is how much it costs, which is not bad, really, if you think about it. It's going to require 8 Z and E. That's going to be the hardest thing. And 4 small, well, no, the 4 small optronic bridges will be the hardest thing. But, I mean, that's manageable. I mean, I found 4 small optronic bridges just in one run-through of the abandoned drone base. That's not to say, you know, you're always going to find that many in one run-through, but I did. So they're not that hard to come by. It only takes an hour and 37 minutes to build, too, assuming, you know, you don't build some blocks into it. So that's really not bad for a Tier 3 vessel. Not bad at all. Okay, cool. Let's go ahead now and go back to the space station, and we'll get our Tier 4 Jade Jet and get it updated to the workshop. Oh man, this you can tell the difference though, you know, between this one and the Tier 3. I'm actually very happy with the performance on this, guys. I mean, with boost, the roll is amazing. Without boost, it's still not bad. Strafing's pretty good. In fact, did we even look? Let's look at the statistics on this again. So we got 55 degrees of pitch, which is great. 73 degrees of yaw, which is really good. 38. So we're still a little bit under 40 on the strafing, but I mean, it's good. It works. We've got 315 meters per second of forward thrust. That's crazy. 54 meters per second of lift and 50 meters per second of back thrust, which is really, really good too. So yeah, this ship is great. The yaw on it is almost squirrely, you know, and again, fortunately we have that option to tone it down a little bit if we need to. I think that's pretty good. Okay, here we go. This is the actual Tier 4 version. We're going to overwrite. Okay. And now we should be able to take that and update it because it's already on the workshop. We need to tone down the big boy here too, so let's turn him off. Whoa, it's still, I mean, you know, honestly, it doesn't even really need the big rocket, but I mean, this whole ship started, the idea behind this whole ship, I mentioned this before, was, hey, let's take an XXL rocket and build a ship around it. So I'm keeping it on there. If you guys try this ship out and you decide to, you know, take the big rocket off, be my guest. I certainly would understand why you would do that, but I'm not going to do it. So there you go. And, you know, we still have a bazillion points of CPU to play with here too. So it's only a little over half. Well, maybe about 2/3, a little over 2/3, you know, utilization. And you know, what you can do, of course, with all that extra CPU is throw a shitload of weapons on this thing. I mean, it's already not bad in terms of its armaments, but there's a room for a lot more, man. A lot more. Okay, let's go ahead and jump in the blacklight here, and we'll get a new screenshot of it, and then we'll be good to go. Should we change this? to this? I'm kind of thinking maybe we should. Oh, I missed a spot there. It's a good thing I decided to do that, huh? That's the thing about building a ship, you know, is that we want to turn this off. You can look at it 100 times, 1,000 times, and you're still going to find stuff that you missed. It's just the way that it goes. Okay, this needs to be... Just make sure that's not like on whole block. You know, sometimes it's stuff that you actually miss like this, and sometimes it's just, you know, I think I want to change that, or I didn't think about that before. Let's try this, and, you know, little tweaks here and there. See, that does a pretty good job there, I think, of showing the black light effect. And, you know, I've got a whole bunch of screenshots of this on the page already, so this is just for the thumbnail. I think that's good. I like that. Let's go with that. Overwrite this. Okay. And then what we'll do is go into here and we'll update that to the workshop. All right, so we are going to start a new series, a new Let's Play on the Swamp Planet. That's the plan. And so the next episode that I will release, which will probably be tomorrow, hopefully. What is today? Today's Saturday the 18th. Depending upon how time goes, I might be able to record the first episode tonight and release that on Sunday, but probably will be Monday. So Monday for sure, maybe Sunday. And you know, this video will come out probably Sunday morning too. Well, you know what? I might actually just release this evening so we can start Sunday. Guys, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed these 3 little build episodes that we did. And you know, getting my vessels upgraded. I'm really excited, you know, to bring them into the Let's Play and start using them for real. And we'll be working hard towards you know, to that end when we start the Let's Play. So should be fun. All right, that's it. Thanks for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. If you did, hit that like button. Please consider subscribing to the channel as well. It doesn't cost anything. It doesn't take any effort, and it does help the channel. If you didn't like what you saw, consider leaving a constructive comment, and I will consider what you wrote. Thanks, guys. We'll see you on the Swamp Planet in the next episode. Bye-bye.